Yes, it's time for Mark Meets, and this evening, one of the most liked and respected politicians of his generation, the Conservative MP for Sutton and Cheam, and the Minister for London, as well as Minister for the Tech and Digital Economy, Paul Scully. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Mark. How are you? I can't beat that introduction. Thank you so much. It's been a long time.
Great to have you on the show. Happy memories of appearing on Julia Hartley-Brewer's breakfast show with you at some ungodly hour. I got to know you very well, and you've ascended into the political stratosphere since. You've been, among your many accolades, you've been deputy chairman of the Conservative Party, appointed by Boris. Very difficult on May the 4th, a trouncing at the polls. Is a Tory win next year now beyond reach?
No, it's not beyond reach. It was a really difficult day, though. If you look at the fact that we've had a difficult year last year, we've had a lot of change last year. People are obviously really concerned. They want stability. Rishi Sunak has come in. He's had his 5 measurable outcomes that he wants out of halving inflation, growing the economy, reducing the debt, stopping the votes, and indeed cutting the backlog in the NHS. They're all measurable. But of course, he's only a quarter of the way through that because he's only a few months into the job. And so let's see at the end of the year. People are at the moment still really unsure, but there's plenty of way to go.
There's talk potentially if Labour weren't able to get across the line with a majority, if they were the largest party, they might enter a coalition with the Lib Dems. What would be the implications of that in your view?
Well, I mean, the Lib Dems have got a reputation in Parliament of saying one thing in locally, another thing doing something nationally. And so they will, I think, suit them, whatever the mood is at the time to make sure they can get a job at the top table. What you then find is that coalitions and the promises all happen after the election. So actually the voters are voting on one thing, they'll actually get something else. Clearly, we risk what happens with Brexit. The Lib Dems will be pushing them to do something on that. The Lib Dems will be pushing them to do something on electoral reform as well, proportional representation. So there are some big constitutional issues that are likely to come back to us should that scenario happen.
Now, you've got a revered title. You are Minister for London, which is, of course, one of the greatest cities in the world. But I want to talk about the whole of the UK. This is GB News. London has led the way with low traffic neighbourhoods and ultra low emission zones. It's very controversial. It's happening elsewhere in the country. What's your view of it?
Well, I can tell you the London experience, and the ultra low emission zone in the centre of London worked because you've got a really viable alternatives in public transport if you're in the West End or something like that. And that might happen in the very centre of some other cities, but that are so much smaller than London. What you then get, though, very quickly as you move further out of towns and cities, and that's very much the case in London, when you get to the suburbs, it's just really difficult to get around. It might be one thing getting in and out, but getting around. So you're punishing people that are low paid, people that are running small businesses, people that are running charities who just have no other alternatives. So I'm absolutely pushing the mayor to scrap the ULEZ extension to outer London. And I'd ask people, around the country to look very carefully at the costs versus the benefits. We all want to breathe clean air, clearly, but there's other ways of doing it.
Now, Paul, you said that you're considering running for London Mayor. Can you give us an exclusive tonight? Will we have Mayor Scully in City Hall this time next year?
Well, look, I can't give you an exclusive tonight, Mark, much as I'd love to. I'm still, lots to think about. And, I'm still doing the day job. So I've got to get that done because what I don't want to do is confuse the two. But look, I just talked about ULEZ. We've got a mayor that's failing. He's not building enough houses. And so young people can't even get on the renting ladder, never mind the housing ladder. We've got the Met Police in special measures, the Fire Brigade in special measures, and people are finding it really difficult with TfL in such dire straits financially to get in and around London. So there's so much to do that the mayor is just wagging his finger and he's diverting, deflecting rather than delivering. That's what's really driving me to take this really seriously.
What do you make of these so-called 15-minute cities and the war on motorists? Many of my viewers and listeners are not happy. Do you think this government should be pushing back on that? And if you were to be London mayor, would you push back on that kind of approach for the capital?
You shouldn't have a war on the motorists. You shouldn't have someone forcing you to push you into a corner in that kind of situation. I think having a planning, a strategic plan for your town or your city when you've got enough facilities around you to better work from home, better shop locally, and those kind of things. That's fine. That's one thing. That's strategic thought. But actually forcing people into these kind of scenarios is totally unacceptable. Devolution is a good thing, but local politicians have got to be held accountable for what they're actually doing and what they're deciding on.
And Paul, what's your story? You're highly educated, you're a successful entrepreneur, you've run lots of small businesses. I understand your father's family was originally from Burma, so it's been quite the journey for the Scullys.
Yeah, my dad was Burmese, my grandfather Burmese, my grandmother Indian from Calcutta, and he came over here, completed his apprenticeship on the docks in Glasgow, having started in Rangoon. Unfortunately, something killed him a few years later because he got asbestosis when I was around 30 odd years ago. But he was a successful engineer, and he did what a lot of people from that part of the world did. He believed in education, hard work, family networks as well, and really instilled that in me. And I think all the time how proud he would have been when he was cycling around central Rangoon to think that his son was now representing British constituency. So I'm really proud of that, proud to be part of that melting pot that's London, actually, because we often talk about diversity, but with me having the product of a mixed marriage with my mum from Nottingham, I think that's probably representative of sort of second, third, fourth generations now in London's and big cities like that.
Well, definitely. Look, can I ask you about this growing civil war within the Tory party? Could it lose Rishi Sunak the keys to number 10? You've got Priti Patel complaining about Sunak's policies. You've got my friend Jacob Rees-Mogg at war with the PM over tax rises. This is not a very united party, is it?
I don't think it's a civil war, Mark. I think that's probably overblown. I think people are obviously still really concerned after the local election. I talked about the turbulence of last year, and there's still the battle for ideas. And the Conservative Party is a broad church. When you have the sort of the centre left of the party and the further to the right, you've got some quite big differences there. But actually, what we tend to find is that we settle those before elections. I talked a little bit earlier about what happens after an election if you go into coalition. I think people, we all settle on a manifesto that we're going to be fighting this next election. But it's right that Rishi is pushed. I think nobody minds scrutiny, nobody minds good debate, as long as it's sensible, constructive, and we do rally around a common purpose, because that's what people want to see at this moment in time. And I know Rishi is actually, the Prime Minister is absolutely dead set on fulfilling those 5 outcomes that I talked about, and we should all rally around that.